Hey everyone, it's Friday, so it's live demo time for art journaling. And today, since I was gone this week, we didn't have a theme. We've been doing themes, and that's been working out really well. But today I don't have one, so I'm just gonna go ahead and art journal. So I'm gonna start by shifting this, which means for some reason it's got all stiff and isn't working so well. Whoop, ceiling shot. Okay, so I started last week in this little journal. I wanted to demonstrate that it's not size, it's process. You might remember that I got pretty colorful. This is the Vicki Boutin color palette and the stencils that I was using last week. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the next page. And that's my sidekick. I'll probably use that at some point. And let's see, I just pulled some stuff. I really enjoyed the colors I was using last week with the Jane Davenport focus. And then I just pulled some more to add to it, you know, just stuff behind me. I have my eyes inks in my on the corner here, which actually maybe I'll start with that. I actually got my resupply of eyes inks this weekend, or last weekend. So if you were hoping to get your hands on some of Seth's texture pastes, I have more in stock. So come on down. I also have been reorganizing the studio. So if I'm scrambling a little bit to find something, it's because I don't know where it is. Anyway, let's start with this. This is the Eyes Ink texture paste, Seth Apter's, and this is his sandy texture. And
what stencil is that?
the stencil is Crafter's Workshop.
Lois says hi.
Hi Lois. I appreciate that you stop in. I just got back from Seattle when I went up to be helpful to my family, and then I'm actually going back up again in a week for an actual vacation. And at this point, I think the store's just going to be closed for that week, rather than add to the stress of my vacation of wondering about how an employee is doing. We're just going to be closed because my lovely daughter Courtney's coming with me this time, so we are both going on vacation. So I don't know if you heard it when I put this down, but this is his sandy texture, so it had a little grit to it, a little gravelly. And there was some color or something on the stencil that transferred to the texture, which, you know, I'm all over. Wondering about sticking to a color palette today. Wondering yellows. I found some flaky. Okay, all right, I actually dozed off a little bit during that moment. Started to daydream a little bit. I'm actually gonna, what am I doing? I'm gonna add some color. I haven't used these in a while. These are my Liquitex inks, and these are acrylics, so once they dry, they're permanent. I'm gonna throw them down in their liquid form, and I actually have all their new colors on order, and I just got some huge boxes that are meant to be displays for this color. So I'm encouraged. That means they're on their way. But whew, look how pretty that is. That's going to be a nice background. You may.
Them in March.
I know. Oh well, I knew the colors weren't coming out. That was a pre-release that they do. This is how it's supposed to go. You know about them really far in advance, and you get to talk it up, and then they show up, and then you sell them. Not that they get released and then you realize, you know, that you you don't have them in stock and people are buying them from scrapbook.com. Not that I'm bitter, just frustrated with the way things have evolved sometimes. So I did want to mention, you may notice that there's not much in the way of classes online right now. I'm taking a step back while this COVID surge is, gaining momentum, just for everyone's safety. I had some longer and longer events planned, and I just realized that was it felt wrong to do that, to invite people here for more and more time at once while this was happening, especially with the new findings they found out yesterday, which sounds like this Delta variant is genuinely scary. So I hope everybody's being safe and cautious and taking it seriously. It just sounds kind of dire. This one needs to be opened. If you come into the store, you're going to notice that I reorganized again. It was that whole thing of having to move stuff into the studio, like a retail space in the studio, and which pushed everything down. And of course, then I was like, I'll do this, and I took on reorganizing in a way that I thought was going to be easy, and it turned out to be complicated, and now I've just created a huge mess for myself. But I'm slowly digging it out, and you'll come in and you might notice some positive changes in terms of accessibility and usability, and hopefully you guys can come in and start using the studio again. I'm okay with that. Personally, if you come in, you can use a table, create some space between you and anybody else, but use the equipment. So this was a Liquitex color. This is a small, no, it's not a Liquitex. I'm sorry. This is my Royal Lang Nickel. This is a brand that I buy when I'm up in Seattle, from the art store up there. I'm considering bringing it in, but then there's part of me that's like, you have so many paints. What are you thinking of? It's a smooth paint. You know what I really like about it is the colors. You know, when I'm consistently buying a brand that I don't carry, it's because they have a color palette that's a little different from what I already have. But just having said that, I mean, really, how different? You know, like here's the Liquitex that I do have in stock, right next to this brand that I don't have in stock. I mean, the reality is I'm just genuinely addicted to paint. So let's just call it what it is. I'm Angharad, and I'm addicted to paint. Not to make light of addiction, I'm sorry, they don't want me to sound crass, but there are some people for whom it is actually an issue, buying craft supplies, shopping addictions. So, and us as crafters, I think we all toy with that a little bit. We always want that new color, that new supply. We see a project that uses items we don't have, we end up buying stuff. So I don't think it's a small thing for crafters to acknowledge that we all have a little issue with managing our craft supplies and our impulses around it. And having said that, you'll meet that one person who only buys what they need for the one project they're working on. They only work on that one project till it's done, and then they get rid of everything. They do exist, these people. They're called miracles. All right, I'm gonna go in with this is a 3D texture paste from Izink. This is not a designer brand. This is just Izink's texture paste, and I do like them. They're very opaque, and I would say the color palette's not super modern. It's a little basic, but sometimes that's what you want, and you know, it doesn't really matter, because being mixed media artists, we layer up, and so we put it down, layer up, and we change the color that way. But I do love how opaque and textural they are, which is what they're supposed to be. So I do sell these, and I sell the Liquitex Basics and the inks and the Jane Davenports, which I have them here, but I haven't actually put them down yet. And just a reminder, I'm working in a composition book sized journal. This one is one that was in my stash. I think it's a Heidi Swap journal, and I'm just just working front to back like I usually do. And it's very thin, you know, it's writing paper. It's not meant for mixed media, so it's warping underneath this. It's not warping the same way that the fabric pages in the the Dina Wakley journal does, but it is. And you can see it's thin enough that some of the paint is reacting with the stuff on the other side. You see this pattern? I don't know if you can see it popping up, the texture. This is what I mean, the texture is always there. And here it is popping up in my work today through the paper because the paper's so thin.
Is the texture from the previous piece?
Sorry?
That's the texture from the previous
From the other side of the
okay.
page, yeah, paper, I don't know if you can see.
Yeah. It's coming through now.
Yeah.
But there's a delay here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember testing the delay once. It's substantial. I always feel bad when someone asks a question and it takes me a few minutes to respond to it.
Lois said, Lois commented a couple things. She said, thanks for travel demos. I never thought about crafting while traveling.
Oh, well, I'm glad to put that in your wheelhouse. Yes, craft while traveling.
That's a good size to take with you.
Exactly. This is a perfect size for traveling with. And you know what it would do? It would fit really well in the folios that I have from Danica. I have people come in just to buy the Danica couches and things like that, which I love. But I bought them in because they are a very perfect size for carrying an art kit around. So if you're looking for a treat for yourself, you could come in, pick out a folio, fill it with your favorite art supplies.
Yeah, they're so cute. Just I'll pop up a couple online.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
They're all looking.
Thank goodness for Courtney having cataloged them all. The woman is a powerhouse. I should say girl, because anyone younger than me at this point is a girl.
Anyone younger than you is a girl?
Yeah, that's where I'm to that point. You know, I'm to that point now where a lot of the professionals I deal with, either medically or, you know, in industries that you always think of maybe being older, they're younger than me. And I'm like, okay, this is disconcerting.
I had the mechanic guy, they called me kiddo. I was like, really?
I had one call me sweetheart, so I called him Toots back.
What did you call him?
Toots. And I said, thanks, Toots, as I walked out. He looked confused more than anything. Ooh. I am literally not thinking about what I'm doing. I am just smudging color around and brayering it on and making a happy mess here. Sometimes when I do this, this is where, you know, think about this in terms of anything you might do to calm your attention. You know, if you're a fidgety person, sometimes, like, I doodle during meetings because it actually helps my focus, right? Yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing with knitting. People who knit in meetings or crochet, you're taking up the fidgety part of your brain, and it allows you to focus on what's being talked about. And sometimes doing this, you know, I don't get into the therapeutic side of this a lot because I'm not a therapist. But one of the therapeutic benefits can be that it takes up that noisy part of your brain and allows those thoughts maybe underneath it to organize themselves a little bit. So sometimes when I'm in a place of confusion, or I need to make a decision, or I have a important conversation I need to have with someone, i.e. I'm fighting with someone and I need to tell them how I feel, I sit down maybe and do, you know, some art journaling, and that can really help those thoughts to have the space they need to articulate themselves. So that
you art journal while you're talking to them?
No, I art journal while I'm thinking about what's going on in my head. It can be, so it's a little, but it's kind of the same process in that it takes away the fidgety piece of you and allows those other thoughts some space. Now, this is, I should tell you, this is Seth Apter's Icing Texture. Says flaky. And what makes it flaky is mica. And it's literally little sheets of mica that get crumbled up into like mica gravel. And it's all flat because that's what mica is. If you ever buy mica in sheets, it's literally layers and layers of mica in the sheets. And you can peel them apart and make them smaller and smaller, and grind them up yourself. A lot of people who make handmade makeup, handmade makeup, that's what they're doing. They're just taking the mica and grinding it themselves and adding pigments. It is a mineral, but I don't know if you can see the sheen that it's created where I've used it. And again, the binder in this, in his texture pastes are a little slow to dry, so just know that. And also dry shiny, which always gets me too, because I think it's not dry, and then I turn out it is. Like just like right now. I'm gonna come in with some of this peachy color again. Let's do it with the brayer. Peachy orange. The brayer is pretty chunky itself right now, so it's got its own texture going on top of the color and the texture I have on the page.
Where do you think art journaling was kind of, the idea of it was sort of established?
Well, there's always been artists who keep sketchbooks and things like that. I mean, Da Vinci, right? Like,
Yeah.
you've got, it's always been a way for people to process. And we just always thought of it as something artists do. And then, you know, there became the sort of psychiatric approach to it, where they realized that creativity has a calming effect and it can help people process. So you've got, process trauma. So you've got the tradition of art therapy sort of popping up the last few decades. And then, there's always the hippy-dippy side of it, where you've got people who have tapped into it, but then cloak it in language that isn't as accessible to your general population, I feel like, so ideas that are great, but, my husband George would never touch it with a 10-foot pole because they call it, soul collage, which soul collage is great. If you ever have a chance to do soul collage, it was very, very eye-opening to me about truly therapeutic approaches to creative approaches to therapy. And so to the point where I'm on my way to taking my prereqs in order to do a master's program in art therapy. I haven't completely 100% decided to do it, but I'm getting there. So, I really do believe in the therapeutic effects of this, but I also believe in being trained in the proper language for it. Because as much as I personally have experienced the therapeutic effects of art journaling, I don't really have the language to talk about it and to recommend it to people other than to say this has worked for me. And I really believe in that. I really do believe in being in expertise, So I'm
authority,
Yeah, well, that doesn't mean anything anymore. Nobody listens to anybody anymore. So I'm not expecting, personally, I just want to learn more about it, because this is one tool in all sorts of ways to be creative. And I've experienced many different methods like this. Okay, so I just want to point this out. Whatever's happening in this corner right here is really exciting for me. I've done sand tray experiences. Those are kind of a very interesting way to process ideas, thoughts, trauma. I've done soul collage, like I said. I really, really found that very eye-opening. And even like a good tarot reading can really help guide your thinking You know, I don't believe in them as magical tools, but I do believe in them as therapeutic tools. Like, you know, they make you think about things in ways that maybe you don't think about them for yourself. All right, have I babbled on enough about that yet?
Oh, it's good.
I haven't used zinc ice in a while. This is Seth Apter's translucent medium, texture medium, and I do love it. It's one of my favorites. It does get a little stuck in its tube if you leave it too long. This one is okay though. A little worried that I had a plug of. And today I'm doing that thing where I use the same stencil over and over again. I like the echo that it creates sometimes, where you have the same pattern over and over again with different mediums and different colors, and it can be very satisfying. Now, the ice works in a way that if you put it on thick, it's more opaque and you get more of the color, and if you scrape it down, you get more of a sheen, and it gets more translucent and paler. So I don't know if you saw that happen there, but I'm enjoying what's happening on this page. You should definitely mention Seth on this one because I've used a lot of his stuff today. Maybe we should definitely do a focus. It's been a while since we focused on him. Maybe do a whole week of Seth Apter stuff because he's got stamps and stencils, and he covers the whole mixed media gauntlet with his stuff.
Lois has an interesting comment.
Yeah.
She says, mindfulness is one of the big topics with National MS Society.
Oh.
Art was one of the things suggested to us to get us to focus.
See? Validation. Do you find that it works, Lois? That's the next question.
I'll ask her in the chat.
But that is interesting. I think I've talked about it with Lois. Lois has shared her therapeutic approaches before, and I know that she does a lot of art, and love seeing what she's come up with the techniques that she learns from me and from the classes that she takes. Okay, so that I just used the blue. It's called Frostbite, is the color, eye zinc. And I love the contrast I'm getting. You know, I'm not a big finish your piece off with a word or a focal point person, but there's a woman, I think it's Jeanette Simmons. She's is on the creative team for Tim Holtz. And her style, I would say, is very close to mine in terms of lots of texture and pattern and color. She takes it to the next level in a way that I find really compelling. But so she would take this and then add a piece and a focal point and maybe something. Her words are always very genuinely inspirational. So if you want to see examples of someone taking this technique to the next level, I suggest you check out her Instagram. And oh. Okay. Well, let me see.
What was her name again?
I want to say it's Jeanette Simmons, but I'm dyslexic, so don't quote me completely on the name. I'd have to go and look, but she's on Tim Holtz's design team, and she does really beautiful mixed media work. So she does mixed media panels and stuff like that. You'll see those in her and you know, Tim reposts her stuff. So if you just go to Tim Holtz and look at some of his, when he does his designer reveals, you'll see her stuff in there.
Do you want me to put up her link?
Sure. She and I have exchanged chats before because I just love her stuff so much. I'm always like fangirling all over her, and she's always very, very nice about it.
So Lois says that art gets us to focus on something other than our ailments or side effects.
Good point. Very good point.
She says it's also relaxing.
Yeah, yeah. And part of that relaxation is the endorphins it releases. It's a chemical thing that happens for you. So, you know, no joke. It really does work that way. So I'm noticing that the valley of the page is getting a little neglected. So I just took a moment to make sure that I got some color on both sides that made it look like they were related. This is the yellow Eyes Ink 3D paste. Again, you know, I shouldn't say yellow. It's called Mimosa. Have a mimosa. Relax. But I like the pop of brightness on top of all of this dark that I had going on. All right, you know what I have here that I don't often use is I have these foil bits. I also have foil sheets. Actually, maybe I'll use the sheets. I find that foil bits, when they're in a packet like this, problematic because, you know, they're hard to control. The foil sheets are mounted, and so that can be a little easier. So maybe what I'll do with this is I'll demonstrate how to use. This is a transparent matte medium from Ranger, and I'm just gonna go ahead and smear some on here and there. And I'm gonna hit it with some heat, but not dry it completely. I just wanna get it kind of tacky so that I can pull this up and put this on. And the way foil works is that it sticks to where it's sticky, and then you can rub it away a little bit and get a little bit of an organic edge.
Who makes the foil?
This foil, I sell this. This is Speedball. And honestly, if you're looking for this stuff, this is the way to buy it in these packets, because you get like 25 sheets of it. And this is what the sheets look like. You get a full sheet. Like, this is me using up the leftovers on this one, but usually you get a full sheet of stuff. Just doing a little. And I'll show you, if it looks plunked on, I agree. I will show you what I'm gonna do to solve that in a second. You can see you just overlap, throw down the bits. Okay. Rub off the medium off your fingers, and then come in with a brush and just rub away at it. And what you'll get is, you know, well, that one's crumbled up a little bit, but I could leave this till it was dry too, and then put it in that way. This sheet is, this piece is not dry, and so I'm getting kind of a messy version of this. As you can see, you know, depending on how much you agitate it, you can get you know, bring it down to very little of the foil left, or you can leave it as nice big pieces. I prefer the sort of rubbed away look. I keep meaning to bring in some sandpaper. I have a piece that I've created that I really want to sand. Let's see, where is that? Sitting around somewhere. And I just want to, I created all these layers on it with the intention to sand it away. So I'm kind of, one thing you could do is come in and sand on top of these, but that is an easy way to add a little bling, glimmer, shine, another layer. I might add more. You know what I might do is I might add, ooh, I'm gonna add some Eyes Ink Diamond, I think. This will not open. This happens sometimes if you leave the paint too long. Or maybe this one wasn't open. Sometimes too, when I get things in this, you know, in my shipments, there are ones that have been compromised, and rather than bother with returning them or whatever, I just throw them in my bit. All right, I'm just gonna pick up on that blue. Oh, come on. This one is open. Oh, don't tell my dentist I did that. So this is just some glitter. This is diamond, so it's got a little holographic glitter effect. And when you really get the glitter out, it took a second to get to the spout properly. You can see that the glitter load is pretty significant, and that it's going to add a lot of bling. So just adding a little more sparkle to this piece, which sometimes I'm like, I'm not going to do glitter today, and then that's all I have on my piece is glitter. It's a nice chunky layer, so it can be really fun to put it down and then brayer on top of, because it really creates a, you know, a texture for the brayer to interact with. Anyway, when you do this, sometimes it really can change the tone of a piece too, because it really is, the color's really there. All right, I'm gonna leave this alone, I think. I might come back to it next week and brayer something on top. We'll see. We will see. One thing you should probably do too is you might have noticed that first splodge was almost all transparent medium. That's because I hadn't really taken the time to squish it around. And so I can feel pockets of glitter just sitting at the bottom. We want to work together to make the paste. Okay, well, I hope that was interesting and that maybe you got inspired to try something today. You know, it doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to be elaborate. You just throw some color down on a page and create some texture with it and let them interact. And, you know, if you're finding yourself a little distractible or overwhelmed, this can be a nice way to calm yourself down. So, hope to see you at the store soon. All right, take care.